I read something when I was still a comedian in the Greenwich Village. A friend of mine, Bob Altman, he told me about Arthur Koestler's act of creation. And in the act of creation, Arthur Koestler, I don't remember the details of this well enough to do it justice, so I'm going to have to shorthand it to the part that meant something to me. He showed a triptych, a three-paneled illustration. And and there were several listings down, several listings in the vertical column, each of them. And then, of course, you could go look across from one triptych to the second to the third. And that was the progression of a creative person. And the Jester was in the first triptych. And the Jester is, of course, a person who makes jokes. He makes these funny jokes. But if he has ideas attached, if the jokes are built on sound ideas, if there's something philosophical in his thinking that the jokes illuminate, then he's a bit of a philosopher too. So he goes to the second part of the triptych. Jester becomes Jester Philosopher now. And if he does those things with marvelous language, language that thrills us, particularly graceful combinations of words and runs and rhythms of language, then he becomes a poet as well. And so the Jester has become a philosopher poet, and he's all one. And I read that at a very young period before my development really kicked into gear. And yet somehow it stayed with me. And I think I can now do a little justice to that theory. I think I can claim to have my essay, their essays now, there are sound ideas in them. The jokes are great. I would never run from jokes. Joke, 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 joke. I love big jokes. I love fat jokes. I love home run jokes. And I just put in 5 or 6 more the other day in this piece that's almost finished. And I love the jokes. But the jokes are there to decorate the ideas. The ideas are about what I don't like in this country, what it is I'm sort of kind of disenchanted by in my fellow man, my fellow human, and my fellow American. So those are the ideas. But then I found that I have this ability my father had to be really good with language and to put it into kind of interesting sounding bits and snatches and runs and trills and things. And so I've kind of gotten that. I mean, I kind of have inherited that. And now I feel fully realized as a performing writer. See, I used to think of myself as a performer who wrote his own material. I always bragged about that in interviews. I'd say, I write my own material, because a lot of comedians didn't. I'd say, I'm a comedian, but I write my own material. Now I think I'm a writer who performs his own material. I write, but I have 2 places for it, books and on stage.